Good to go.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would like to start with a disclaimer. And it is that despite it is called Arctic Shamanism, I am not going to dive into that. It is more of exploring the symbols of the shaman's room, but from a different perspective, because this comes from when I used to be in academia, and I wanted to do a research that I will call it cognitive folklore, which is like you know, I come from a linguistic background, and I used to study cognitive linguistics and how the language shapes reality and how different languages speakers perceive the world. So I wanted to focus also on how folklore and beliefs shape languages and cultures and perceptions of the world, rather than the other ways around. So you will find some odd information that may seem out of nowhere or unrelated completely to the theme of the talk, but when it pops up, I will redirect it. Like I am using this here because this has this significance or this important, and also I would like to say that it is a very wide, broad theme, and there is a lot to cope with. So I just did a very you know, introductory, very little details here and there, and just like an introduction to get people some hype about the issue. And then I am collecting a comprehensive bibliography that maybe we can share when you put the recording in YouTube with everything. So yeah, yes, that is it. So first of all, I'm going to start saying a little bit very briefly about the Sami people and who they are and what they are, mainly because people tend to not know about their existence, and they tend to confuse them with the Finnish people. So yeah, so they are the indigenous people of Scandinavia, and this is the point that they are associated to the Finno-Ugric culture, but they arrived to the northern Scandinavia way before them, during the last glaciation, the last period of glaciation. So they were isolated for a while, and then the Finno-Ugric people arrived and mixed together. So they have been isolated for a while together, and that is why they have some things in common, and why their languages intertwined and have similar roots and stuff. But they are completely different in many ways, and their belief system is completely different, and this is important because I tend to have a lot of comments of relating Sami, and people jump to, oh, this is a Kalevala mythology kind of stuff, and it is definitely not. So they were, and I say were because they are struggling to get their traditional way of living, but they are still nomadic groups, and their way of living is highly related with reindeer herding. First by hunting and following them, and then they herd it, and with fishing, of course. Now, the present day dwelling area of the Sami, which is called I don't know how to pronounce it because it comes saying Saumpi, but it is not like that. Extends from the northern parts of the Kola Peninsula in Russia to the north of Finland, Norway, and Sweden, over both sides of the Kolen Mountains, towards the south of Trondheim and Idre in Delakarlia, Sweden. So this dark blue here, but it is important to notice, because I am going to jump soon into the relationship and perception the Vikings and the Old Norse people had of them on them, and how they influence each other, to notice that originally they were in the whole Scandinavia, right almost to Denmark, all the Scandinavian peninsula. And you can notice it in the names of in the place names. you can have some place names with Sami roots and Sami influences in the name. So let's go to how they have arrived to us. Before the 15th century, they appear mostly in Vikings accounts, like Historia Norwegiae and Ágrip at Noregs Konungasögun, and like Heimskringla, Grettir Saga, Egil Saga, and in these sagas they are referred by the ancient Germanic term Finn, in its Old Norse form Finni, Finnur, Finnar in the plural. And now, speaking about this, you can find all those references and all those sagas and everything mainly for free online. You just search Icelandic sagas or whatever, and you can get them online, and then you can make a quick search on them within them in the document, and you will find all those references. But yeah, just in case you are interested, it's quite interesting, and the sagas themselves are very very modern novels for being written in the 14th century. So in these sagas, the Sami are portrayed usually in minor roles and along three main interests: the taxation, witchcraft, and marriage. And they are always characterized with a specific imagery, as the always present stereotypes of winter and cold, wearing animal skins, and the use of skis, which is interesting because you have these Finners here, and you have them associated to Freya, Frey, in the Nordic mythology, in the Nordic Viking mythology. And it is because these Vanir are supposed to be either Finnish or Sami, or some intertwined kind of magic. All the apples of Idun and so on are very related to the Sami and the Finnish mythology, Suomi, and so on. Well, and they are portrayed with skills in magic and sorcery, and they are so many times associated to legendary characters, especially to the troll, to the point that Norwegian Christian laws from the 11th and 12th centuries punished having contact with and seeking knowledge from trolls, and by the end of 13th century, seeking this advice from the trolls were punished directly with death. This may sound strange, but these trolls were supposed to be the Sami shamans and witches, and they were supposed to know way more than the other wizards and witches than Scandinavian or Rus or Danish. They were considered more powerful and more dangerous. But before that, we can find in the Heimskringla. Well, Heimskringla is the history of Norwegian and Sweden kings, written by Snorri Sturluson in the 12th century. it's supposed to speak about real things. So, of course, it's exaggerated and with poetry, but Snorri wrote about the burning of the warlocks that King Olaf did during the end of 10th century. I'm not sure if it was the end of 10th, beginning of 11th, but this is what he did. So the king proceeded to Tønsberg and held a thing at which he declared in a speech that all the men of whom it should be known to a certainty that they dealt with evil spirits, or in witchcraft, or were sorcerers, should be banished from forth of the land. Thereafter, the king had all the neighborhood ransacked after such people and called them all before him. And when they were brought to the thing, there was a man among them called Eyvind Kelta, a grandson of Ragnvald Rechtilvild Vein, Harald Harvagert's son. Eyvind was a sorcerer and particularly knowing in witchcraft. The king let all these men be sit in one room, which was well adorned, and made a great feast for them, and gave them strong drink in plenty. Now, when they were all very drunk, he ordered the house to be set on fire, and it and all the people within it were consumed, all but Eyvind Kelta, who contrived to escape by the smoke hole in the roof. And when he had got a long way off, he met some people on the road going to the king, and he told them to tell the king that Eyvind Kelta has slipped away from the fire, and will never come again in King Olaf's power, but will carry on his arts of witchcraft as much as ever. When the people came to the king with such a message from Eyvind, the king was ill pleased, and Eyvind had escaped death. Sorry, some of the translations are by myself or very old ones, and I struggle a bit with the rhetoric on them. So, yeah, this Eyvind, it was not supposed, at least not openly, supposed to be a Sami, yet his skills and the way he is portrayed is very much related to how they were portrayed in other sagas. And also this passage here shows how King Olaf, before those laws of Christianity and before all the witch huntings of the Middle Ages and the early modern times were already punished and prosecuted. They were seen as skilled wizards and sorcerers and clairvoyants and teachers of witchcraft. That is why these laws forbade going to ask for advice, because, well, they can teach you to do their same kind of witchcraft. Then you become as dangerous as themselves. So this is the thing. Sometimes these skills were seen with admiration, like they were described as being able to track footsteps as readily as dogs, both in the snow and in thaw, and their skills in scrying and shooting with a bow are often mentioned. So, yeah, and other times they were seen with fear, like they are able to influence the weather and raise a storm at sea, help women conceive immaculately with the help of a spirit conjured into them, and also they were considered to be able to raise a storm or cast a spell from very, very far away, like you can go into an expedition from Sweden to France, and you will get a storm that a Sami wizard has raised from Kola Peninsula. So yeah, they consider it's very like this association with almost mythological creatures in a folk tale is strongly present. So such knowledge and power earned them respect and admiration in some texts, and fear and trepidation in others. And I will put a couple of examples that are more admiration or neutral than fear, because when it comes to fear, it goes very, very dark. But yeah, I will reference to all of them in the bibliography, so you can check about it and explore by yourself. First of all, I would like to give an example that in which troll is used almost as an insult, and that I don't know if some other scholars.
That's what I mean. Right, I'm just finding my earphone. Oh, sorry. Let me mute. Sorry.
Is everything all right?
Sorry, yeah, somebody just accidentally unmuted themselves.
Oh, okay. No, I thought that it was a question or something.
No.
So it is used as an insult. I am not sure if other scholars or if it has been analyzed in this context, but it is very specific, the use of trolls in relationship with Sami. So I don't believe it's casuality, a coincidence that it is used here in this context. So these examples come from Eyrbyggja saga, which is an Icelandic saga written in the 13th, 14th century, and it goes about a feud between two chieftains and why not, and the settlers in a particular part of the country, and then this passage here is about kind of a magical duel between two women. One of them, this Geirrid, she is a foreign, at least foreign from that part of the land. And she is described as very beautiful and a little bit different to the other women there. And she's supposed to arrive where Katla is. And then this happens. So then said Katla, must not Geirrid the troll be coming there? Then may glamour only no wise be brought to bear. But then when she arrived, but when those folk come into the chamber, it came to no greetings between them. Geirrid cast off her cloak and went up to Katla and took a sealskin bag which she had with her, and did it over Katla's head, and then her fellows bound it fast beneath. Then bade Geirrid break open the days, and there was aught found, and bound seathens, and after that those twines were brought up to Buland's head. And beyond this use of the trolls, like Katla used as a pejorative term in regards to Geirrid, there is also this use of the sealskin, because the seals are important, are an important part of Sami cosmology and of shamanism of the Sami people of the old days. But yeah, I don't know if they use troll as like a pejorative way to refer to someone, like saying you are like a Sami, or if it is actually a reference that this Geirrid woman was a troll. And then back to the Eimskringla. This is very interesting, and this is the beginning, but this story goes dark very quickly. So we have here this man who is a theme, but not very clearly stated before this passage, that he wants the king to be with his daughter, and this is how he does it. So Sveis, notwithstanding, decided that his message should be delivered a second time, adding to it that he was the fiend whose heart the king has promised to visit. There stood Snæfrid, the daughter of Sveis, a most beautiful girl, and she filled a cup of mead for the king. But he took hold both of the cup and of her hand. Immediately it was as if a hot fire went through his body, and he wanted that very night to take her to his bed. And of course, this comes to tragedy, because she is a terrible witch. And she is here. It shows here how she just. I still don't know the name the word for it, X, bond, spell bonds the king to fall for her in a very immediate manner. And yeah, it's a recurrent thing that Sami women can do. According to the sagas, I mean, the sagas. And yeah, they are wizards, both men and women, and it's like a whole ethnic of wizards for the within the saga context. And then again, this last example, it comes from a folktale, from an Icelandic folktale, and it's again shows an important symbolism from Sami cosmogony and from the science of the shamans. And so this is a folktale from the east of Iceland, where there is this lake that is supposed to have a golden treasure custody at the custody of a big snake monster that comes from a girl throwing in the lake a golden ring, and then a little worm, grow bigger and bigger until it becomes a monster. So they wanted the gold back, and they wanted to kill the monster, and they couldn't. So finally, 2 skilled fiends were brought to the country. They were tasked with killing the snake and getting the gold. These fiends plunged into the river, but soon came up again. They said the journeys were not smooth because there was an overpowering thing to do. It would not be possible to kill this snake or get the gold. They also said that there was another worm under the gold and that it was a much worse business. But they dived again and again, and at last they were able to catch the worm in two bands. They put one strap on him behind the buckle and the other in front of the strap. After that, the snake could not harm either humans or animals, but it is necessary for him to put a clutch out of his back, and when such a thing is seen, it is usually considered to be a sign of some great news. So here, what it is interesting is that they dive into the river, and it is put in such a physical way. Like it is like you can imagine them just jumping into the water and go down and dive over and over and deal with the worms and so on. But they then we will see in a moment how this diving through water is part of the description in which Sami shamans, the Naides, they travel to the other world in their astral travelings and so on. So this is interesting to me because this is what I meant with cognitive folklore, because you see it can be read just as a fairy tale and as a magical thing to do, but if you dive there, you can notice, you can extract from it this astral traveling, and the whole folktale takes a different perspective, a different form, different shape, and different meaning almost. So yeah, and that is in Iceland, which is, well, yeah, on the other side. So it's something that that has spread through all Scandinavia, and probably also through Viking raids to other parts of Europe, and other parts can probably be traced to other folk tales in other parts of Europe. So moving on, in the 17th century, this Johannes Severus wrote, he was a scholar in Uppsala. He wrote Lapland, which is a comprehensive depiction of the Sami people. And he wrote it based on accounts of clergymen living in Swedish Lapland. Lapland is how they used to call in these centuries to Sapmi. And So when I quote, I'm afraid that I have to preserve the name. I believe it is used today only to refer to Santa Claus villages, but yeah. So the task of reading this depiction, this book, came from the Swedish Chancellor Magnus de la Gardie to get factual information against German propaganda that accused the Swedish of using Sami magic in war. The problem being that this Johannes got his information from clergymen and Christians, and the mission backlashed him because all he got, well, he got a lot of interesting things, but he got a lot of confirmation of Sami people being wizards and having terrible magics and being dangerous heathens and so on. So the witch hunters started looking their way. So successive missions for Christianization and assimilations during the 17th and 18th century resulted in a demonization of the Sami and their pagan beliefs, especially their shamans and their drums. So Christians immersed in demonological concepts of shamanism believed that Satan himself gave these drums to the Sami. The drum, an instrument of the devil, was supposed to enable a sorcerer to summon his demons, which were believed to reside in it and were revived by striking it. So this led to the stealing of all of as many drums as they could, the burning of them. So because of this, most of the symbolism of the Noaidi drums was lost. And because of this, it is very difficult to reconstruct it completely. So almost all the symbolism and the old worldview, because, well, yeah, they were assimilated and forced to change the way of living. So in reality, Sami religion was animism, and I believe in the multitude of spirits and beings in different realities. And I know most people is familiar with the term animism, but I wanted to clarify it in this way, in the way of this perception of it as a belief and of different realities, because when it is used today in scholarly, it is usually used as at an ethnographic level, like saying it is a way in which people used to relate to nature, and it may be true, but I focus more into, you know, the way, the perception and the cognitive view of the world, and it is not the same to be in a relationship to respect or whatever than actually believe that something has a living spirit inside. So yeah. So the intermediary between the human world, the animal kingdom, and the spirits is the shaman, which is called Noaidi. Some of their tasks were divination for appeasing spirits in relation to hunting and fishing, and out-of-body journeys with different goals, to mediate in the world of the dead, for recovery or healing of a sick person, for instance. But it is important to notice that they didn't act as a psychopath, so it is not the same as Siberian shamanism, in which they help the Siberian shamans help the souls of the departed into the next world, but not the Noaidi. And it is important also to notice that the consumption of substance or mushrooms or whatever were preserved for special occasions. So not all out-of-body experience, most of altered state of consciousness come from drumming and joiking, which to me is very interesting because it speaks to how the brain can work all those things on its own. without needed of external help. Yeah, those main tools are the drumming and the yoke, and let's start by the drum. These frame drums, I don't know how to pronounce, from the South Sami area, were made in an oval shape. On the smooth skin made from reindeer hide, the cosmos one inhabit was drawn or painted. On the back, the part of the drum that was turned towards the body, were hung different amulets of silver and brass or pieces of bone and teeth from different animals. They gave the drum power and noise. In the northern area, the pine and spruce were also used, but it was the balls and knots of the roots that formed the body of the drum. I'm not going to name the drums, but yes, and the yoke. I am not a specialist in the yoke, but broadly, it is a rhythmic chanting which not only has a major role in narrative and oral transmission of cultural history and cosmology, but also helps to induce trance, and it's a tool for the use of magic in cooperation with the drum. So it has two recognizable dimensions, and I mean within the science of the shaman, because it is a completely whole world, and it's almost a language on its own, and it's fascinating. I will recommend you to explore it a lot. Within the science dimension, there is a spiritual dimension as an assistant for inducing altered state of consciousness, and in a physical way for the Naidi to tell about their out-of-body journeys, storytelling, like I have been and I have done, but in a chanted form. But I am not going to enter into the yoke because yeah, it's a different world. I am going to go into the drums, okay? So the Sami, as in itself, the Sami drum was kind of a cognitive map where the Naidi portrayed physical and spiritual aspects of tradition and culture. Sometimes it was also used as an oracle for divination. In a similar way that people use now, nowadays practitioners of other kind of magic use this painted map and then you cast some runes or charms, and depending on their position, it means something, one thing or another. So they are believed to do the same over the drum and with little bones and stuff. So the symbols that are painted then with red dye from alder tree bark was boiled or chewed before usage, have similarities with rock carvings and paintings. This is also very interesting to notice because I am following the views of this Francis in this regards, who is the scholar who has studied these rock carvings and the relationship with the paintings on the drums. And he kind of debunks this previous theory that the drum symbols were just maps to show people where they can fish, or the path that reindeer followed or whatever. So yes, it's interesting to notice that because rock carvings and paintings speak tons of prehistoric times and from the first dwellers of the area, and are not that different from what we find in the drums. So yeah, so most of the drums that were preserved come from the Lular region that is here, and this is because apparently it was the area in Sapni where they were more attached to their folklore culture. I say attached, but I don't know how to express it. It was more difficult to Christianize them, and stuck to it from longer time, and they were considered the most dangerous of them all. So now we are going to jump directly into analyzing some of the cosmogony of the Sami within the symbols of the drum, and this drum is drum number 63 from Manker's inventory. And this is a man who was a collector and the kind of man that used to collect things that he shouldn't at that time period. It is that drum number 63 is one of the remaining 71 Sami no ID drums in Manker's inventory. It is currently the property of the Ethnographical Museum of Dresden in Germany, and it is the only drum photographed and documented in Manker's inventory, portraying a large number of fish. And now I am going to use a reproduction from 95th from a book on Manker's inventory of 95th of the 1950s, because the photographs of the drum are not legible in a photograph. I hope it is when in person. So this is where the polemic starts, because according to the man who Manker and other scholars like Rifkin, the drum probably belonged to a hunter or fisherman because of the large number of fish. And this goes back to what I was saying before about scholars believing that the symbols in the drum were mere maps to point out where you can fish better. But yeah, Francis Joy and other scholars that I am following this now, and myself, consider this a swallow and very imperialistic view. Like it doesn't take into account that they could have a religion of them or of themselves. I have pointed some of the symbols of the drum, but I am going to explain them better. So this is the drum, okay? And you have here this line, which is the liminal space between our world and the world and the underworld of spirits. It's fascinating because one is used to traditional shaman and animistic beliefs in which you have three worlds: the middle world and the underworld and the upper world, like well, the Asatru and the Finnish mythology, the Suomi mythology, and in Siberia, why not? But they have just two worlds, and the liminal space is just like a door, portal. They have more walls, but because they have also the Sabi, which is the dream world. But for journeys and for conceptions in this reality, it is just two and not three, which means, to my perception, that they didn't have much sense of they were not as strict into higher spirits for help, lower for making shenanigans or whatever, and then weird. So yeah, so then this is the liminal space, and these things here are the shadis, and the shadis are sacred spaces in nature where you can find entrances, spirits dwellers, and why not. They could also be made from wood, and many were situated by the water. And those here are are very similar to the ones that are man-made. And it is noticeable to know that here, which is the world of the death, you have those two. So it's like a total parallelism, like a mirror, in which one will say you have the portal, and the portal, of course, the liminal space is liminal for our world, but also for the spirit world. Yeah, and it is also important to notice that those crosses here appear in this drum, but in other drums, and I like this drum because it only has these small, tiny details in this respect. But when you go through Sami drums, you usually find the ones with a cross over here, and it is because they, well, it has its reasons also within their cosmogony, but they include a lot of symbology in an attempt that can remain or be more familiar to Christians and to other people that were not familiar with the Sami culture and tradition. So they don't demonize it. So you can see here those processes, and it's kind of like you can try to make this priest who see this, okay, that may be a charge in the perception or whatever. But this one doesn't have it that much, and it can be a coincidence, but remains to those symbols that other drums use for this. And now the parallelisms are everywhere. So you have here those the fish and the birds that are within the circles are supposed to be spirits within our world, and those here well, are supposed to be the opposite way around, like mortals or spirits from our world into the other. And then there is here, this guy here is supposed to be the spirit dweller of the CID, which is interesting because again it is a portal, and you can, it's not only to offer things and to worship, it's also to ask for help and to build a relationship with those spirits and so on. It's very interesting. And you have these lines here. Joy says that they are rivers of the souls and also streams of magic. And it seems that there is contradiction, but I don't see it. Personally, to my perception, it can be a stream of magic through waters, and there is almost a universal that to go to the underworld, you have to go through some rivers. We find it in Greece and Rome, and in Asian cultures, Asian cultures, I believe. Around Japan, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but we find it a lot. And then there is the seal. Okay, the seal is an interesting concept here, because when you go to Sami mythology, and there is sometimes this concept of the Noaidi going through the underworld, riding a seal, a spirit in the shape of a seal that brings him down and brings him back up. The bird, this seal thing is very, very interesting because again, it appears in a myth, folk tale, or whatever in Iceland about Simon the Wise, who was supposed to be studying at the devil school, at the black school of the devil, and he tricked the devil to bring him to Iceland in the form of a seal, instead of becoming his servant. And then when he arrived at Iceland, he killed the devil with the Bible. And the same with the ways why is he supposed to have written the poetic Edda. And it is very interesting to notice the similarity with this Sami thing. So who knows, maybe that devil was just a spirit or an idea, or he drank, or that myth drank from all those previous Norse perception of the sun. Also, the bears were supposed to be psychopoms, more precisely the loons, and it is not explained anywhere with those words, but I guess they just took the spirits down and make them cross the waters, so they appear on the underground. And then the bears were the ones who worked closely with the shamans. And you can see here, I have left this little guy here for the end, because for some reason, Mark Manker and other people analyzing this, but Manker mainly, consider that this little guy here is Thor, but I personally don't see it, and Joy doesn't see it either, and other scholars don't see it either. It's supposed to be a portal, liminal space, an open space, rather than a sun symbol, and that will be the spirit who helps the Noaidi, but not as a servant again, but more like a companion, like a friend, like if you have a portal, a liminal space, you help them for doing things here, and they help you for doing things on their world. And it kind of remains more of, the Bosco painting of the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't remember the title of the painting. And this on all these near-death experiences in which you see a tunnel and a bright light, and then there is some being that you don't really know if they are humans, they are animals, they are your ancestors, some angel waiting for you and talking to you, and they say, come here or go there. It's kind of that same concept. So yeah, that is interesting to me at least, because mainly because it's a very old culture and it has so many traditions and details that come from, that seem universal, from a very, very old period of time that we share in many places. Yeah, I guess that is all. Actually, I got them this because this guy, little guy here, is a bird, but I like to think, it's just me, that it is Sarahus, which is this little guy here, which is a kind of a spirit that appears in your dreams and from the death, and he makes a lot of shenanigans, and to my mind, it reminds me of him with that strange gesture and so on. It's that is me. I will share afterwards where to find those mythical creatures and so on. And I would like to finish this by quoting the beginning of the Francis Joy paper that I followed in the drum, because I felt the same when I started this research that I left. I felt exactly the same like this man. So it expresses very well why I take this approach, and I withdraw from the ethnographic, this is just to fish or whatever approach. And it is like he says, In 2010, the author conducted an investigation into a number of publications errors relating to symbols and figures on a selection Sami no-ID drums, which were collected by priests and missionaries during the witch hysteria of the 16th and 17th centuries. The careful study was for the purpose of being able to rectify the ways in which Sami religion and culture in Lapland has been portrayed, and therefore interpreted such as the relationship of the no-ID to the spirits, which was recorded and information representing metaphors and combined features of sacred narrative belonging to an oral tradition that spanned thousands of years. So yeah, that is why I take this particular approach and why I left outside it all the ethnographic, anthropological interpretations of the symbols and go directly to folklore, and why I wanted first to present how they were portrayed before, because all those errors and misunderstandings come precisely from that approach of to them like the other, and somehow it's good to try to make a different approach, make amends. So yeah, that's it. I hope you have enjoyed it and that it has been interesting to you. So yeah.